will you please welcome John Baer and Don Dixon?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. How about this? We're kicking off the My Biscuit Baby Tour in Elkin, North Carolina. Yes. Which is a tribute to the power of Martha. We good? So, My Biscuit Baby, I was invited to a book club the other day, and a guy was talking about what he read in the book and gave me this analysis kind of thing that we did maybe, or he did in AP English class, analyzing Beowulf and talking about symbolism, and I think he mentioned semiotics and a bunch of stuff, and had this grand conclusion and asked me if his analysis was spot on, and I had to break his heart, and it's like, man, this is about a guy who loves a biscuit. It's my biscuit baby. So I've been looking online for Elkin menus, and when I see you out in the lobby, I want to get your recommendation for the best biscuit in Elkin so I can load up tomorrow. Something tells me there's some biscuits here. So the guy who loves biscuits in the book is a man named Lassiter James Battle. He grew up in Saluda, North Carolina, went to the University of North Carolina in these long ago periods in the 1980s. I don't know if anybody remembers the 1980s, and you may have stumbled into Chapel Hill then. You may have met my buddy, Lassiter James Battle. His friends call him Lassie James. He majored in journalism and went out into the world to work for newspapers. And when the newspaper business went south, he, like any good North Carolinian, came home, landed back in Chapel Hill for graduate school and then to join the faculty. So that's where he is. He's back in Chapel Hill today. And there's a storyline in the book that takes us back to that period of the early 1980s when some friends of his did the really important thing. They started a dorm band. It's the best kind of band, right? It's Thursday night, we have an exam tomorrow, what do you want to do? Hey, let's start a band. So these buddies started a band that was called Snow Camp. There may be a Snow Camp expatriate out here tonight. Snow Camp was the band. They organized and wrote 9 original songs to play at an all-campus concert in April 1982, Springfest 82. Once Springfest was over, students went on their way. It was a good thing. Snow Camp wasn't going to set the world on fire. It went on with their lives. So now Lassie's back in Chapel Hill. He connects with one of his old buddies who was in the band, who's now a Chapel Hill attorney. His name is Ghost. His nickname is Ghost. So Lassie sees Ghost. And then there's another woman who was in the band, Delaney Quinn. And Delaney Quinn is in Raleigh. She's a doctor. And a third buddy, the guy who was the lead singer, the heart of the band, his name was H.F. Turley. And after college, he moved back to Sparta, North Carolina, where he was from, and he farmed Christmas trees. And as we get these messages these days, sometimes Lassie gets a note from a friend that H.F., the lead singer in the band, has passed away. Sad news. There's a wrinkle here, and H.F. in his will has asked Lassie James to organize the music for his memorial service. Guess what? He wants, at his memorial service, the music played from Snow Camp. Those 9 songs. Well, that's the problem. Nobody remembers any music, nobody knows the lyric, nobody even knows the title of the songs. But you can't let down your friend. So that starts the chase for the lost Springfest tape. So when you hear the music that Don and others have recorded online, it's going to be My Biscuit Baby, the Lost Springfest tapes. And I'm going to read you a bit from the book about the moment when they've discovered the lost treasure. You'll have to read the book to find out how they did it. But I'll let you know the song titles they discover. My Biscuit Baby. Don't Let Me Die in My Grits. $2 in a Bad Haircut. Mama Was Right About You. Delaney Quinn wrote that one. My Dream House. Old Plank Road. One Leg Down the Hill. Maggie Blue. And My Underwear's Dirty. So remember, this was a college dorm band. The song makes perfect sense. So what I'm going to read to you is the moment when they're in Lassie James's house and they've just discovered the treasure, the lost tapes. And who you're going to hear in this little section is Lassie James, his wife, a tolerant, beautiful woman, Pearl. So Lassie and his wife, Pearl, their buddy, Siler. Siler owns the neighborhood bar where they hang out. The name of the bar is Pig Farm. I hope every town has a pig farm, and maybe there's one here we'll find after the show tonight. And then the two band members that Lassie's reconnected with, Ghost and Delaney Quinn. All right, here we go. This is the world premiere of reading from My Biscuit Baby in Elkin, North Carolina. Thank you. On the coffee table in front of the sofa, we set up Siler's old cassette player and connected it to a wall outlet. A light the size of a pinhead turned green when we pressed the power switch. Pearl put the cassette into the machine, side A facing out through the tiny window. We heard the tape chug-a-lug when she pressed rewind. Pearl spoke first. Might as well start at the beginning. The rewind function clicked off when it reached the start of the tape. At the same time, my phone buzzed, sounded loud as thunder. A text from Miss Emmy. Quick note, Miss Emmy is the governor of North Carolina, and you're going to hear more about Miss Emmy a little bit later tonight. A text from Miss Emmy said she would be in Chapel Hill that night and needed to meet with Pearl and me. Details forthcoming. I texted a thumbs up emoji and put the phone away. Ghost spoke next. Lassie, you should hit play. HF asked you to produce the music for his memorial service. This one is yours. My mind flew away back to 1982. HF standing by a crepe myrtle on the lawn at He's Not Here, our Tuesday night bar, and reciting a speech about gravy he would deliver the next day in his public speaking course. He was tall, with muscled shoulders and arms. I could see him laughing at his own jokes about gravy. Beer sloshed over the lip of the blue cup in his hand. Young men and young women around him, fans and friends. His stringing hair suggested rock and roll. He winked at the moment his story ran from truth to fiction. I saw his eyes, bright as the stars in the belt of Orion. I pressed play and said a silent prayer that his voice would come through the speakers. We heard hissing. The antique tape spit and yawned and crackled and popped, giving us back the ambient sounds and muffled talk from an amateur recording of an amateur band trespassing in a campus building 7 Mondays before Michael Jordan hit the shot that brought the university its first men's basketball national championship in a quarter century. Then, HF's voice. Hello, 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 1, 2, 3. This is Monday night, February 8th, 1982. Cane Creek band rehearsal. Nope, scratch that. Snow Camp band rehearsal. Then we heard the voice of a young ghost. Introduce the band, man. HF spoke again. That's Ghost on bass, and we have Delaney Quinn on guitar. Yours truly, HF Turley on lead vocals. Then there was a pause on the tape. HF spoke. You on drums, what's your name? Is there a drummer here? Delaney Quinn's voice came on next. She gave HF instructions. Then HF's voice came back again. Yeah, and Delaney Quinn on vocals too, and Terrible Tim Creek on drums. Tuning of instruments, and bursts of sounds from warm-ups. Then 3 false starts on a song. Finally, everybody was in sync, or nearly so, and HF's singing came through the speakers. Don't let me drown in my grits. Lord, don't let me die where I sit. Please don't let me pass out and drown. Don't let me die in my grits. The song ended. We were quiet. Siler reached over and pressed the stop button on the player. When Pearl saw tears in my eyes, her eyes grew wet and reflected light. Delaney Quinn laughed, and that started us all laughing. We laughed and cried at the same time. We missed HF. We ate Siler's warmed-over cornbread hush puppies off a hot tray. We toasted Snow Camp. chewed and laughed and wiped tears from our cheeks. I served mugs of hot tea. Snow Camp lives, Delaney Quinn said. She pressed the play button, long stretch of hissing, clouds of sound, then another voice. On the old plank road, say a prayer for these, wind-grieved ghosts who can't find peace. Pray me home again, down the old plank road. Pray me home again, down the old plank road.